Kenneth Jeffrey, Communications 1113, Informative Speech. Title: My Wonderful World of Electronics. You ever wondered what makes this cell phone do the things that it does? I mean, you press a button, the screen lights up, you touch the screen, and it begins to move. All of these different little things that go into this cell phone. Have you ever wondered how they got in there and what they actually do? Well, as a kid, I did. And my curiosity led me into the field of electronics. My interest in electronics has allowed me to discover a whole new world in technology and that is ever changing from day to day. And it has allowed me to have a job in that field, as well as it is one of my main hobbies. My love for electronic things has blossomed into a career as well as my hobby. Me as a child, I would tear up everything that my parents bought me. It didn't intend to tear it up. It was just that I was inquisitive and I wanted to know how things worked. I would play with a toy for a little while and get bored with it. Then I wanted to see the inner workings on the inside. So I would take it apart. The only problem with that was I wasn't able to get it back together. So constantly, my mom, Kathy Jeffrey, would tell me, I'm not going to be spending my money on these expensive toys for you to tear them up. So after a while, my toy budget became limited and I didn't get as many toys as I once got because of my habit of wanting to know how they worked. Shortly after that, became a teenager and I started discovering computers. And when I began studying the computers, I began taking them apart, building computers from old computers, and you have to understand this was the late '90s, so the computers weren't as advanced as they are today. But yet, I was still wanting to know what made these computers work and how they worked on the inside. So I would take them apart, get spare parts from other computers, and place them together. And that led me go to college to become a systems analysis. Well, while at college, I discovered that I didn't exactly want to be sitting behind a computer all day long. I actually wanted to get my hands on things and be more hands on in my field. So that led me into the field of instrumentation, where I discovered a whole new world of instruments and electronics and things for me to work with. It's an ever changing technology. It's an ever changing technology in the instrumentation field. The early days when it first started off consisted of old pneumatic lines and pneumatic flow transmitters. These things were allowed operators some limited control to control the plants which made chemicals where I work, but it didn't give them full range and they had to be updated constantly. And then when you had problems with them, you were tracing out copper lines all over the place and you were trying to figure out what was going on because it was only so reliable. And shortly after they got rid of the old pneumatic transmitters, they started implementing some, I guess we call them not so smart transmitters. These gave the operators limited controls with electronics, but yet they were still not as reliable as the operators would have liked them for them to be. So shortly after the North so smart transmitters came into play, different companies began creating what we call fully automatic transmitters, which gave operators a full range of things that they could do and capabilities that allowed them to control the plant safely and allowed them to know what the process was actually doing at all times. And see, it is my job as an instrument tech to go out and calibrate and make sure these transmitters are working correctly and always calibrated and within specs so that these operators can do their job effectively. It is a more reliable and a more safe and a more dependable application in using these technological transmitters. And again, that is something that I grew to love as a kid. And not only do I do this on my job, but also that it happens to be one of my favorite hobbies. On my spare time, which isn't much, but I like to play with RC helicopters and drones. And that's where my love for this, passion for this came in full effect because I had to learn about flying these drones and helicopters. Of course, you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on something to just get out and go out and tear it up as soon as it goes up in the air. Something I learned from my mom in my childhood. But I had to go on different websites like learningtoflyyourdrone.com, and it would tell you the different terminology to use when flying your drones, like pitch and U and way. And you had to learn all of these things, as well as there was few flight simulators. Real Flight Simulator was one in particular that a lot of people uses that taught you all the ins and out and the workings of flying the drone before you ever get out in the area and fly them. One of my favorite drones that I like to fly is my Unique Q500. And when I was flying it, I was only getting limited airtime as well as limited distance from the drone. And then I went on Unique.com's website and I was able to discover that I could update my software and firmware and get more out of my drone. And now I've added a couple of stronger radios and antennas onto my drone, and I can go even farther and get longer distances from my drone now. So I've done all of that just because that happens to be one of my hobbies. And I love and I'm very passionate about my instrumentation. And I'm also very passionate about my drones. To be honest, I never imagined as a child that my love for things electronic would take me into a career of instrumentation, which now pays for my hobbies. There's a lot of people out there that doesn't share the same hobbies as I do, nor do they have the same job as I do. But if you're passionate about anything that you do, you should give it your all and give it all you have. And that is why I love technology because I'm very passionate about it.